Hey guys, today I am back with another brand new video to discuss about friction. Today questions are: Number 1, what is friction? Number 2, who invented friction? Number 3, who is the father of friction? Number 4, how was friction discovered? Number 5, what are the 4 types of friction? Number 6, in what way can friction be reduced? Number 7, what are the methods to increase friction? Number 8, why do we decrease friction? Number 9, what is a fact about friction? Number 10, what is importance of friction? Number 11, what is the cause of friction? Number 12, how does friction affect speed? Number 13, does water have friction? Number 14, does oil increase friction? Number 15, what are examples of friction? Number 16, what is law of friction? Number 17, can you walk without friction? Number 18, how do we calculate friction? The first question is: what is friction? Friction is a force between two surfaces that are sliding, or trying to slide, across each other. Friction always slows a moving object down. The amount of friction depends on the materials from which the two surfaces are made. The rougher the surface, the more friction is produced. Friction is the resistance to motion of one object moving relative to another. It is not a fundamental force, like gravity or electromagnetism. Instead, scientists believe it is the result of the electromagnetic attraction between charged particles in two touching surfaces. The second question is: who invent friction? The first friction match, invented by John Walker of Stockton-on-Tees in 1826. Copyright Stockton Museum Service. Walker did not patent his invention. Samuel Jones from London copied his idea and marketed his matches as lucifers. The third question is: who discovered friction? Professor David Tabor is called the father of friction. The fourth question is: how was friction discovered? Guillaume Amontons, 1663–1705, rediscovered the two basic laws of friction. And he also came up with an original set of theories. For several centuries after Amontons' work, scientists believed that friction was due to the roughness on the surfaces. The fifth question is: what are the 4 types of friction? There are 4 types of friction: static, sliding, rolling, and fluid friction. Static, sliding, and rolling friction occur between solid surfaces. Fluid friction occurs in fluids, which are liquids or gases. The sixth question is: in what way can friction be reduced? By polishing the surface, as polishing makes the surface smooth and friction can be reduced. Using lubricants such as oil or grease can reduce the friction between the surfaces. When objects are rolled over the surface, the friction between the rolled object and surface can be reduced by using ball bearings. The seventh question is: what are the methods to increase friction? There are 2 methods of increasing friction. One is by making the surfaces rough and the other by increasing the mass of the object that is moving. For example, the tires of vehicles have treads. These are the designs that you can see on the tire surface, which increase the friction between the tire and the road. The eighth question is: why do we decrease friction? Friction is a necessary evil which causes a lot of wear and tear in machine parts that move against each other. It erodes the surfaces and destroys their symmetries, hence, in such cases it is desirable to reduce friction. Friction is reduced by lubricating surfaces to decrease the friction. The eighth question is: what is a fact about friction? Friction is the resistance of motion when one object rubs against another. Anytime 2 objects rub against each other, they cause friction. Friction works against the motion and acts in the opposite direction. When one object is sliding on another, it starts to slow down due to friction. The 10th question is: what is importance of friction? Friction is important also for these reasons. Number 1, it causes air in the PBL to converge toward low pressure and diverge from high pressure. Friction causes PBL air to flow toward low pressure. Number 2. Friction is a little stronger over land surfaces than over water surfaces since land surfaces have a more rough and vertical. The 11th question is, what is the cause of friction? Causes of friction. Friction is a force that resists the relative motion between two objects or materials. The causes of this resistive force are molecular adhesion, surface roughness, and deformations. Adhesion is the molecular force resulting when two materials are brought into close contact with each other. The 11th question is, how does friction affect speed? Friction drag force causes objects to slow down as they move through a fluid, such as air or water. As an object's speed increases, the drag force from the fluid increases exponentially. For example, when you drive at high speeds, the frictional force of air on the car increases, and fuel economy decreases. The 13th question is, does water have friction? Friction is caused by two physical processes, both of which dissipate energy. Anyhow, with water neither of these criteria can be applied because water is a liquid, so you can't assign a friction coefficient to water. Having said this, a film of water can be a very effective lubricant. The 13th question is, does oil increase friction? If you put a liquid like oil between two solid gears, it will shift about and change its shape as much as it needs to, cushioning the microscopic bumps between the gears as they mesh together and reducing the friction between them. The layers will slide freely past one another, so helping to reduce friction. The 14th question is, what are examples of friction? 1. Rubbing both hands together to create heat. 2. A sled sliding across snow or ice. 3. Skis sliding against snow. 4. A person sliding down a slide is an example of sliding friction. 5. A coaster sliding against a table. 6. A washing machine pushed along a floor. And the last one is, an iron being pushed across material. The 15th question is, what is law of friction? When an object is moving, the friction is proportional and perpendicular to the normal force, N. Friction is independent of the area of contact so long as there is an area of contact. The coefficient of static friction is slightly greater than the coefficient of kinetic friction. The 16th question is, can you walk without friction? The only walk that you can perform without friction is a spacewalk, while every other action that involves contact of two surfaces and motion involves friction, with control yourself and by force of friction. The last question is, how do we calculate friction? For most purposes, you can use the formula F equals mu n to calculate friction, with n standing for the normal force and mu incorporating the characteristics of the surface. Thank you for watching. So guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel.